Today, we're diving into one of the hottest discussions in the photography and videography world right now, the future of Canon's APS-C cameras, and more specifically, the much-anticipated Canon R7 Mark II. If the latest leaks and industry whispers are to be believed, Canon could be preparing to make a bold move, removing the mechanical shutter entirely from this camera. Yes, you heard that right. The iconic click sound that has long defined photography might be on its way out for Canon's APS-C lineup. Now, before we start debating whether this is good or bad, let's step back and understand why this rumor is generating so much noise across the creator community. After all, the Canon EOS R7 was already a fan favorite, especially among hybrid shooters, wildlife photographers, and content creators who needed professional-level performance without jumping into the pricey full-frame territory. The R7 gave us a lot: a sharp 32.5 megapixel APS-C sensor, blazing fast autofocus with Canon's dual-pixel technology, 15 frames per second with the mechanical shutter, and impressive video specs, all at a relatively accessible price point. But the Canon R7 Mark II, if the leaks are accurate, is shaping up to be a completely different beast. The rumored Canon R7 Mark II, a shutterless future? The biggest headline here is the possibility of Canon ditching the mechanical shutter entirely in favor of a new stacked APS-C CMOS sensor. Stacked sensors are capable of incredibly fast readout speeds, which dramatically reduce issues like rolling shutter distortion. In fact, with a stacked sensor, cameras can shoot continuous electronic bursts at speeds previously unthinkable for APS-C. We're talking about potential 40 frames per second electronic bursts, smoother video with less skewing during panning shots, and a sensor so fast that a mechanical shutter begins to look like outdated technology. If Canon goes this route, the R7 Mark II could redefine how we think about APS-C mirrorless cameras. But this raises a critical question: is losing the mechanical shutter really an upgrade, or is it a compromise disguised as progress? The history and purpose of the mechanical shutter. For decades, the mechanical shutter wasn't just a feature, it was the backbone of photography. It physically opened and closed to control exposure time and, more importantly, to shield the sensor from distortions when capturing fast-moving subjects. That satisfying click wasn't just aesthetic, it meant precision, reliability, and consistency. However, as technology has advanced, mechanical shutters have started to look like a limitation. Moving parts eventually wear out. Shutter mechanisms have rated lifespans, often around 200,000 actuations for enthusiast-level cameras. Beyond that, failures can and do happen. Silent shooting modes also became increasingly popular, especially for wildlife, weddings, or street photography where discretion matters. With stacked sensors, the reliance on a physical shutter is reduced. Readout is so fast that distortions, like jello effect, rolling shutter, are far less noticeable. Other manufacturers are already blazing this trail. The Nikon Z8 and Z9 have fully embraced shutterless designs. These cameras rely entirely on electronic shutters and are highly regarded by professionals. Sony, the Alpha 9 III, goes a step further with a global shutter sensor that captures every pixel simultaneously, eliminating rolling shutter entirely. Canon, so far, Canon has been more conservative. But with the R7 Mark II, they may finally step into this new territory. In reality, Canon isn't being radical, they're just catching up with the industry trend. The benefits of going shutterless. Let's break down why Canon might feel confident enough to drop the mechanical shutter. Silent shooting. No mechanical movement means complete silence. Perfect for wildlife photography, concerts, weddings, and documentary work where sound could be disruptive. Durability. Fewer moving parts mean fewer components that can fail. This makes the camera more reliable in the long run. Weight and size. Without a shutter mechanism, the camera can be lighter and potentially more compact. Higher burst rates. Mechanical shutters max out at a certain speed, while electronic shutters can push far beyond. No shutter shock eliminates the small vibrations caused by the shutter mechanism, leading to sharper images at slower shutter speeds. On paper, it sounds like a perfect upgrade. But as with most things in tech, there's always a trade-off. The drawbacks of losing the shutter. Here's where things get tricky. Even the best electronic shutters still face limitations. Flash sync limitations. Without a mechanical shutter, syncing high-speed flashes becomes problematic. For studio photographers or event shooters who depend on flash, this could be a major setback. Fast action performance. While rolling shutter is reduced with stacked sensors, it's not completely eliminated unless you have a global shutter. Extreme sports, racing, or very fast-moving subjects might still reveal distortions. Lighting issues. In certain artificial lighting, electronic shutters can produce banding or flickering that mechanical shutters avoid. Sensor exposure. With no shutter curtain to shield the sensor during lens changes, the sensor is more exposed to dust and accidental scratches. Some manufacturers counter this with sensor protection mechanisms, but Canon would need to address this clearly. So the big question remains, is Canon ready to make this leap, and are photographers ready to accept it, beyond the shutter, other rumored specs? Of course, the mechanical shutter debate is just one part of the Canon R7 Mark II story. If the rumors are true, Canon could be packing this camera with a spec sheet that rivals some of their more expensive full-frame models. Here's what we might see: new stacked APS-C CMOS sensor with lightning-fast readout speeds, dual-pixel CMOS AF2 with improved subject tracking, animal eye AF, and vehicle detection. In-body image stabilization with up to 7 to 8 stops of stabilization. 4K at 120 frames per second video with Canon Log 3, making it a serious tool for filmmakers. 6K external RAW recording via HDMI, giving content creators pro-level video options, dual UHS-2 SD card slots for speed and reliability, improved ergonomics with a more robust grip, and possibly a new menu interface tailored for hybrid shooters. If Canon manages to deliver all of this in a camera that stays compact and competitively priced, the R7 Mark II could easily become the best APS-C mirrorless camera of 2025. Why this matters for hybrid shooters? The term hybrid shooter has become a buzzword in recent years. More and more creators need a camera that performs equally well in both photography and video. The Canon R7 Mark II, with its rumored specs, seems designed to meet this demand. For photographers, you get high resolution, blazing autofocus, and burst speeds fast enough for wildlife, sports, and action. For videographers, you get professional video codecs, slow motion 4K, and RAW recording. For content creators, you get a versatile all-in-one package that can handle YouTube videos, vlogging, live streaming, and serious photography without needing two separate systems. This kind of versatility is exactly what makes the R7 Mark II so exciting. The emotional side of the shutter debate, but let's not ignore the emotional connection photographers have with the shutter. For many, the sound of the shutter click is more than just mechanics, it's the heartbeat of photography. It signals the exact moment a memory is captured. Going shutterless may feel like losing a piece of photography's soul. Some photographers argue that silent shooting feels disconnected, almost clinical. The click gives rhythm to shooting, a tangible reminder of timing and presence. Others argue that embracing silence is the next step forward, a way of blending into environments without intrusion. So this isn't just a technical shift, it's a cultural one. Should Canon take the risk? Canon is at a crossroads. If they keep the mechanical shutter, some will say they're falling behind Sony and Nikon. If they remove it, they risk alienating traditional photographers who still value it. But innovation often requires risk. We've seen it before. Apple removed the headphone jack, and while controversial at the time, it reshaped the smartphone industry. Sony pushed mirrorless before Canon and Nikon, and now it's the industry standard. Nikon went all in with shutterless designs on their flagship Z9. And it paid off. Canon may be ready to make its boldest APS-C move yet. Final thoughts: the Canon R7 Mark II could mark the end of the mechanical shutter era for APS-C cameras, or at least the beginning of the end. For some, this will be exciting. A future of faster, lighter, and more reliable cameras. For others, it may feel like losing a trusted companion.